paired passage, take 5 strategy. So sometimes we look ahead and we will quickly see that we have a paired passage. So when I look at this, I see a poem, but when I keep going, I don't have questions. I have another text with it. And this one's called scuba diving. So here are a few strategies for paired passages. So first, I'm going to continue doing my before reading checklist, which is get interested, motivated, focused, look at the title, preview the text, read headings or subtitles, chunk the text as needed with our stop lines, and read the questions in advance. Still going to do that, but I'm going to have to divide it one by one. So starting with my poem, the title is I Am, and same thing. I'm going to imagine what might this be about. I'm going to put I am. Maybe it's somebody describing themselves. I'm going to look for any bold text words, which I do not see. I realize that it's a poem and I have 3 stanzas. I don't have any pictures other than the background picture. And then I made my stop lines already. And since it's a poem, I'm going to make stop lines per stanza because I know every paragraph has a lot to unpack in it. Then I'm going to read. And since I know it's paired, and the typical thing that happens with paired passages is I'm going to compare or find similarities, or I'm going to contrast and find differences. So that is when my take 5 strategy will come in handy. So let me do a quick read on this. I am an underwater world with magnificent colors. I wonder how long it took for the Great Barrier Reef to reach 1,430 miles long. I hear divers exploring. I see parrotfish eating off of me. I want to expand across the ocean, even away from the equator. And I'm thinking, this is an interesting point of view. I pretend I can see the astronauts looking down on me. I feel the sunlight shining through me. I worry the pollution, toxins, and oil will ruin me. I cry tears when hurricanes barrel through me. Oh, that's interesting. So something that's getting ruined, maybe something in the ocean, maybe this is a fish or the coral reef. In the world's oceans, I say protect me. Send me your best to study me. Look at me. Magnify me. See my colors, my strength, my world. Tell my story. I am an underwater world with magnificent colors. So wow, I think this is being told by the perspective of the coral reef. So I know I'm going to have a compare and contrast questions by the end. So I'm going to start remembering what are the highlights of this text. And that's what I'm going to do at take 5. All I'm going to do is jot down a few things that stick out to me, whether it's the characters, the setting, the problem, the point of view, the main idea, anything, the 5 main top things that come to my mind. And I'm thinking the coral reef is the one telling the story. It's first person, and there's really good imagery in this thing. The coral reef is describing what it sees. It kind of worries for its future and even kind of asks for help. So then I'm going to go with it needs protection somehow. It's asking for it. Now I'm ready to go to my second text. I might even first answer the questions that apply to only this story. My second text is called Scuba Diving. Same thing. I'm going to think, what might this be about? So I'm going to think it's maybe about a scuba diver looking at coral reef, a scuba diver getting trained, describing things in the ocean. Next, I'm going to look at my bold text words, and I see the word scuba and apparatus, marine. I see it's 4 paragraphs. I don't have any subtitles, headings, or pictures. Okay, so go on to reading now. Text 2. There are so many fascinating things and sea life underwater that a human alone would be deprived of studying and seeing. Humans can hold their breath underwater for an average of 30 seconds. That's an interesting fact. That isn't enough time to explore sea life, examine shipwrecks, or save entangled animals. Fortunately, scuba, which means self-contained underwater breathing apparatus, has been developed. With the scuba system, people can dive for long periods of time. Going scuba diving requires the right kind of gear. First of all, scuba divers need a well-fitting mask to see clearly and fins to move through the water. The scuba system has an oxygen tank and a tube connected to a mouthpiece that allows divers to breathe. Scuba divers also need a special diving watch to keep track of how long they have been underwater. This story is definitely nonfiction. People can become certified scuba divers and get special jobs. People interested in shipwrecks and sea life can become underwater archaeologists. Underwater tunnels or bridges need to be built by marine contractors. All of these things can be photographed by an underwater scuba diver. Scuba divers face many dangers. If divers don't release the air pressure in their ears, they can feel ear pain. The bends is an illness divers can get from swimming to the surface of the ocean too quickly. It can cause a rash, pain, or even death. Sadly, some scuba divers are harmed due to faulty gear like broken watches or oxygen gauges. So my prediction was a little incorrect, but I'm going to still take the top 5 things from this second text called scuba diving. So I was interesting to find that scuba has a meaning. I did not know that. It means self-contained underwater breathing apparatus, SCUBA. 2, scuba divers can explore sea life and their findings underwater, which is interesting. Maybe this will lead into connecting to the previous story. A scuba diver could look at coral reef. They might need the right equipment, or they need the right equipment. They have special jobs, and it can be a dangerous activity. So at the end, I really do need to think, how are the two texts similar or different? And just off the top of my head, I could jot down a few things. So I noticed in the poem, it was a poem. It was emotional, and it was from an interesting point of view, first person, but the point of view was from the coral reef. The nonfiction scuba story was nonfiction. It was informational, and it was about scuba diving. The way they're similar, they both have to deal with the ocean. And I found the poem was asking for someone to study it and save it, and I feel a scuba diver could be the one to do that and how. So going back, just to review, take one story at a time, still do all your pre-reading activities, but after reading one of the stories, take 5. After reading the second story, you know they're going to be so similar, take 5. And take a moment to just compare and contrast them, whether it's on paper or in your head.